I have this smaller or a generic cup holder or coaster, but it's nothing special. It doesn't create any statement. So now I'll create a coaster that looks like a gear, in fact an actual gear with involute gear teeth and some real parameters, so that it looks like a coaster which a mechanical engineer should use. But instead of using it for transferring torque, I'll use it for my coffee cup. Now that's a unique use case. So essentially, this is what you'll see in this video. I'll start with the cup measurements so that coaster fits properly. Then I'll make the coaster using several Fusion 360 plugins and 3D modeling tools. I'll send it to my slicer software Cura for creating that G code which 3D printer understands. And finally, I'll print it using Creality CR10 3D printer. Now I'm using PLA as material for the 3D print, but you can also use ABS for things that need to withstand heat, as ABS has a higher melting point. Now this video is also sponsored by Autodesk, who are running a huge discount of up to 30% on Fusion 360 and its plugins for a limited time. More about it later in the video. So with that, let's start with the measurements.
So this is the cup which I'll be using for this demo. Actually, its base is little small, but that's fine for our purposes. And yes, I'll set my vernier to 0 and let's start its measurement. So I'll actually measure it diagonally because that's where it has the maximum thickness. So let's just measure it like so. And that happens to be approximately 75 mm. Now with that 75 mm, actually 74.32, but yes, it is almost like that. And I'll also leave a little bit of room for tolerance and for the larger cups. So I think diameter of 100 mm should be good for this coaster. And when it comes to height, I already have one coaster with a height of 8 mm, so I'll just add 2 mm more to it. So 10 mm height should be fine. So that's our measurement, 100 mm dia and 10 mm height. Now let's go to Fusion. So here we'll start directly with add-in. Instead of making a sketch and then converting it into 3D, we'll use add-ins to create 3D models directly. Now for add-ins, you need to go to Utilities tab, and here we have the add-ins panel. Select it, click on scripts and add-ins. Now it has a list of all the scripts or plugins that are pre-installed. For example, let's say you want to make a bolt. Select this bolt, click on run, and that's going to create this bolt with these parameters. Of course, you can change these parameters. For example, the head diameter, body diameter, the cut angle, fillet radius, all these things you can change. And once you're done, click OK, and we have this bolt right out of box without making anything using sketches. Now this add-in is added as a new component. So if you add anything else, it's going to add it as another component. So let's go to add-in again, scripts and add-ins, and this time I'll select this spur gear and click on run. Now that's going to add this spur gear panel here, and here once again you can change the parameters. So in this case, I'll just keep the default values once again, but just in case you want to change it, you can change it from here. Now the only thing maybe I will change for this is module size. So module is 12.70. That's going to make a really big gear here. Let's make it smaller, so maybe module 6. All right, now we have a gear of pitch diameter 144 mm. So with that, I'll click OK, and we have this gear. So the gear is created right out of box, and we don't need to do anything with that. Okay, so these are ready-made ones, but what if you want to increase the functionality of Fusion 360 and want to harness the power of Fusion 360 plugin library? For that, you can go to add-ins and select Fusion 360 App Store. Now on App Store, we have several plugins that you can use from. So here on the App Store, let me just move it here. This will automatically filter the plugins based on your software, which is Fusion 360. But just in case you want to select any other software, you can select it from this list. So I'll leave Fusion 360 selected for now because that's what we want. And now search for a plugin. Now let's say we want to make gears, but as you know, we can make gear, but this is external gear. What about the internal gear, or maybe the racks and pinions and these kind of gears? Now for that, you can definitely use this. So here I'll use FM gears as my plugin. So FM gears, search for it, and it will show up in this list. So select it, and now you can download this plugin. Of course, you need to sign in into this account first. So I'll simply sign in first, or even if you just click download, it will prompt you for this sign in box. So now that I'm signed in, all you need to do is select your operating system. Now this FM Gears plugin is available only for Windows. If it is available for Mac, it's going to show up here and you can select your operating system and then click on download. Once downloaded, it will just download an MSI package that you can install. After installing this package, go back to Fusion 360 and select add-ins, scripts and add-ins, and now go to this add-in option. So this will show you all the custom add-ins that you have installed. So select this, and now as you know, I have already installed it, so it's going to show up here as FM Gears. So I have it here. Now before I use this, I'll actually close it, and I'll close this one as well, and I'll open a new drawing. Now I'll select the same option. So utilities, add-in, script and add-in, add-ins here, and FM Gears. Now in this case, if you want to run this add-in every time Fusion 360 starts, then you can check this option, run on startup, and it will automatically run every time Fusion starts. So this add-in will remain available for you always. If you want to see its location, you can go to details and see the location of this add-in. All right, now in this case, I'll select FM Gears and I don't even need to click on run, and the reason is it is already active. If not active, then this run will show in green. For example, I'll click on a stop just to stop this, and now it will show in green. So you can click on run and the add-in is added, and where it is added, in the create panel of model workspace. Now model workspace was something which Fusion 360 used to have. It is now called design. So that's a small thing that you just need to be mindful of. Just a little terminology change, but everything is almost the same. So on the design workspace, I'll go to create panel. So click OK. I'll go to design, of course, solid, and create. And right here we have FM Gears. Select, and we have the familiar spur gear panel. But not only that, we now have internal gear and rack gear options as well. So this will, of course, as you can see, improve the functionalities. Okay, now as you know, we are trying to make a coaster, a kind of creative one. So I'll go to spur gear and I'll add some parameters for the coaster. Now the size of coaster is approximately 100 mm. That's what I want. So for that, I'll actually select hole diameter as 0 because I don't want hole at the center. We'll instead use some other features. So I don't want a center hole, so I'll keep it at 0. The standard metric, I'll keep that. Now the pressure angle, I'll leave it at 20 degrees. And then module, now the module size should increase. I'll make it 4. All right, now number of teeth, I'll increase that as well. I'll make it 24. Now the root fillet radius, I'll keep it at 0.40, clearance of 0, and gear thickness. Now that's really big, so I'll change that gear thickness to a small value like 2 mm. All right, so with these parameters, I'll simply click OK, and we have our gear. Now as you can see, this gear is made and its size is 96. The pitch diameter is 96, which is exactly what we want, approximately 100. Now this is also added as a new component here. So let's activate this component. So I'll select it and click on this dot just to activate this component. Okay, now the height of this, let's inspect it. So I'll go to inspect, select this and this, and the height, as you can see, is 2 mm, while we want it at 10. So let's just give it a thickness. So I'll go to extrude, select this face, move it up to a distance of 8 unit. So let's just type here 8, tab key, click OK, and before that, make sure join is selected, and now the total height is 10. You can even check it. So inspect this plane and this plane, and now it is 10 mm. All right, so we have the base shape of this coaster done. Now we'll also add some internal features, and for that I'm going to use once again a new plugin.
Now speaking of plugins and Fusion 360, if you haven't yet purchased Fusion 360 and you want to remove all the limitations of a startup or other free version that you are using currently, then now is the best time. Autodesk is offering a huge discount of 30% on Fusion 360, team participant, generative design, machining, additive build, nesting and fabrication, product design, simulation and signal integrity extensions with monthly as well as annual subscription options. The discounts for Fusion 360 for product design and manufacturing and for managed extensions is available for annual subscription only. This offer is for India only and it is available only till January 31st, 2023. So check the links in the description of the video to get your discount. Now back to the video.
So for that, let's go to utilities, add-ins, and Well, actually, I already have that plugin installed. So let me show you which one I'm going to be using. So I'll go to script and add in, and here I'll use this Voronoi sketch generator. Now, as this is already installed, so I can use it, but let me show you how to get this plugin. So add-ins, Fusion 360 App Store, that's going to take you here, and I'll just move back. All right, and let's just type its name. So Voronoi sketch generator, and that's going to show up here. So select it, and here, as you can see, we now have the operating system choice. So select Windows and click on download, and after it is downloaded, install it, and we are good to go. All right, so once it is installed, just go to this add-ins here, script and add-in, go to add-in, select Voronoi, and make sure it is running. In this case, it is already running, so I don't need to do anything here. Now I'll close it, and this is available in Solid tab, create panel, right here, Voronoi sketch generator. Now, how do we use it? Well, in this case, we just want to make a sketch right here on this panel. So I'll start with sketch tool, and I'll select this plane. All right, and here we have the sketch. Now I'll simply exit out of this, finish a sketch. All right, now a new sketch is created. Okay, let's start sketch again, select this plane. All right, and now this sketch will be used for that Voronoi sketch generator tool. Now this one is just the normal sketch. Actually, both of these are currently empty, but when you create a sketch using this tool, it will add it on your previous sketch. So that's why I just used it like this. So I'll maybe simply select finish a sketch, I'll go to create, and now I'll select Voronoi sketch generator. All right, now select the sketch or profile. So here in this case, I'll just select this one. And as you can see, it just selected this sketch, although you can even deselect it and select a different sketch if you want. Or you can just cancel it, select a sketch, go to create, select Voronoi sketch generator, and it will select it, but it is not selecting it. Okay, great. All right, to use this tool, I'll start with a sketch, and I'll create a sketch right here on this plane. Now the Voronoi sketch generator will use this sketch for creating the sketch that we need. So we can just finish this, go to create, and select this Voronoi sketch generator. Now select the sketch or profile, which is this, and as you can see, it will automatically select this sketch. And now you can select the parameters here. Now in this case, instead of selecting the parameters here, I'll simply click on use profile size, and it will automatically use the size of this profile or this boundary for creating this sketch. Now if you want to restrict this sketch right inside this gear, then you can create a square or maybe a circular shape. In this case, it will fill this entire gear. Now I'll click Voronoi editor, and this will show you the preview of what we are going to get. So this is the kind of feature that it will generate right inside this. There are several parameters here. Let me show you that one by one. So the first is curved. You can change it to straight, circle, or square, or maybe anything from this list. In this case, I'll select curved. Now in this case, cell count is 100. You can increase this number or decrease this number depending on how complex or relaxed you want it to be. In this case, I think I'll keep it at 73 approximately. Now the size of these cells you can decrease or increase. In this case, I'll keep some room between these features because I want to create holes using these features. So just to keep this coaster sturdy, I'll make sure that it has enough room here. Also, you can add the relaxation value, and this will decide how cramped these features are. So in this case, I'll leave it maybe somewhere around 100. All right, that looks about good. Now you can also clip it outside or inside. Now in this case, it is completely inside, but you can uncheck this and now the feature will be made outside as well. You can also uncheck the intersecting option, and that's going to ignore the boundary, and it will make this kind of rectangular feature, which is going to go beyond your selected boundary. Of course, we don't want it. Now, if you want to add a border for this feature, you can select add border, and that's going to add the border. Also, you can add a padding. When you add a padding, it will add gap between your selected boundary and the feature. So in this case, once again, I'll leave the padding at 0. Then we have the zoom amount. Zoom amount won't change anything in this feature. Rather, it will simply show you in different sizes, so you can zoom in and out this entire preview. All right, so this is what the feature is. Of course, this feature is not perfect. We have missing gaps here which we may want to fill, and then here as well, but we can do that later. For now, I'll simply accept this feature. Now to accept this feature, all you need to do is just go to this option, publish to Fusion, or you can download an SVG file for a laser engraving or for your CNC. Now in this case, I'll select publish to Fusion. And here we are, we've added it here on this plane. Now this is added on the top plane, but of course we don't want it on the top plane. So how do we move it? Well, that's easy. You can select the sketch, and the sketch in this case is added. Well, let me see where it is. It's right here, sketches. It's added in the main component. So I'll just select it, right click and select edit. All right, so here we are. I'll select it all. So in this case, let's just make it like this. In fact, I'll just press escape and then make it like this, a lasso selection. Now in your case, if you're not able to make this lasso selection, then that's also fine. I've deliberately selected the lasso selection, but if you have window selection, that's totally fine. In this case, you can select window, and now if you make a window, everything inside that window will be selected. All right, so that is selected. Now I'll type Control C, or you can right click and select copy. That's it. That's all we need. Now finish the sketch and just go to this feature right here at the top. Now I'll go to create sketch again, and here I'll paste it. So Control and V, and here we are, we've added it. Now using these triads, we can move this feature right here. So let's just eyeball it and move it right here on this gear profile, kind of like this. All right, and with that, I'll click OK. Now that is not all. We'll now modify this feature as well. Now to modify this feature, well, you can actually copy paste these sketches a couple of times, or you can change its boundaries. In this case, I'll go to select and select free form selection. Now I'll maybe select this feature right here, and I'll maybe start selecting it like that, and right click, copy and paste. I'm pasting it using Control V, and here we have another copy of this feature, and done. Now let's press enter, and you can even move these things just to play around with its feature. So here we are. So you don't need to be restricted with the base shape that it comes with, and you can of course play it around and change its shape. So here maybe I'll change this one too. I'll move it away from this, and here also maybe I'll just move it slightly away from there. All right, and here also. Now in a similar way, I will fill all the remaining gaps, for example here and here. So some of these gaps I'll fill using simple copy paste method that I just now showed you. And here we are. So we are done. Now I'll click on finish sketch, and here is the feature. Now I'll simply extrude this feature, and before that we can even hide this sketch. So I'll simply hide it. We no longer need it. Now to make the extruded cut, we'll first hide this gear feature, and to do that, I'll select it, right click, and I'll select show or hide. All right, now I'll select this entire feature and I'll bring it back. So I'll right click again, or maybe not. I'll just go to this bodies here, and I'll just show it from here. So select it, click on bodies, and it's back. And also we have the sketch selected. Now I'll go to extrude, and I'll move it down. Now in this direction, instead of adding a height, we can select in the extend type all, and that's going to make a through cut. In this operation, make sure cut is selected and click OK. And we have this body. All right, and we have our coaster ready. So that's what we want. Finally, we can 3D print it. Or if you want, you can even add fillets or chamfers right here on these corners. In this case, I'm not going to do that. This is just the shape that I need. So to send it to a 3D printer, once again, I'll go to Utilities, Make, and 3D Print. Now I'm using Cura, and I've already set the settings for Cura here. So if I export it, it's going to export this file directly into Cura. But if you are using any other 3D printer, you can select it from this list. Also, if you simply want to export an STL file, then you can select the format from here. So select STL, or maybe even 3MF or OBJ file if you want. Now in this case, I'll just select this part. Format is STL, unit I'll leave the millimeter, which we want. And if you want to see the mesh, you can click here, and that's going to generate the mesh which we are going to get. All right. So with that, I think we are pretty much set. So click OK. And now that's going to launch Cura, because as I mentioned, I've already set Cura as my slicer. And here we are. Now, of course, the orientation is not right for this. So let's select this part and rotate this. So I'll go to rotate, and using this red axis, I'm just going to rotate by an angle of -90 degrees.
And there we are. Now that's going to sit on the bed. All right, there we are, exactly at the center. Okay, now all we need is slice button. I've already said all the other conditions, for example, the print bed temperature, the infill density, and the nozzle temperature, and everything else. Material is of course PLA. So I'll go to slice, and it's going to take approximately 5 hours and 31 gram of PLA to make this, which is pretty much fine. So let's go to the save to disk option, desktop, and let's give it a name. So I'll call it coaster gear, and it's going to save the G-code file. Now all we need to do is send this G-code file to our 3D printer. And that's the complete workflow of using plugins to make objects quickly in Fusion 360, making modifications using the usual tools, and finally sending it to a 3D printer. Now let's go to the 3D printer and I'll show you the final result. All right, and here it is, off to 3D printer. Now this is going to take a few hours just to 3D print this, and the material which I'm using for this is PLA. The bed temperature is 60 degrees Celsius and the nozzle temperature is 200 degrees Celsius. So that's what I'm using. In your case it could vary slightly, but these are the ideal temperature for my use case. Also I'm using 1.75 mm PLA dia, and yeah, so that's pretty much the settings that I'm using for 3D printing this. And here is our final piece. As you can see, it looks really very sturdy, and it has really great thickness, and all the sharpness and everything is really maintained. So that's a special use case of using plugins, but you can use it in a different way as well. In case you missed the Autodesk promo, you can get a huge discount of up to 30% on Fusion 360 and several of its extensions. Check the link in the description for your discounts.